Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Talking in Stations midweek update for November 29th. My name is Artimus Albosa. Joining me today is my co-host Silver.
Evening, Artemis. Happy to be here.
Also on the show today, we have quite the cast. So first, going down the list, we have modded. How would you prefer your name?
Mad Ed, that would do.
And where are you from, Mod?
Well, I'm Ed. I'm one of the high command along here with Samara of Spectre Fleet, which is an NPSI PvP community, which means not purple, don't shoot it. We're a public community, so we're open to everybody.
Gotcha. So next up on the list is Marshy.
Thanks for having me, guys. Yep, I'm Marshy. Fly with the Bombers Bar. I'm one of the core members and one of the FCs. And same as Spectre Fleet, we're NPSI, not purple shoot it. So we shoot anyone that's not in fleet. But we focus mainly on covert ops ships, black ops, bombers, all that lot.
Awesome. We also have Marathi.
Greetings, Marathia, also with Matted and Samara, part of Spectre Fleet, but I also fly with Pen.
You cut out a bit at the end there, Marathia.
Oh, did I? Oh, well,
Who do you
I
also
fly with Pandemic Horde.
Gotcha.
I am a Horde.
And Samara?
Hey, Samara. Been flying with Spectre Fleet for 3 or 4 years now. I've also kind of been double dipping with Init. That's about it.
And then we also have Ron USMC.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm from a really small startup organization called Test. You guys may have heard of us, I'm not sure, but I'm happy to be here.
You're really repping the Test swag there.
I like it.
As much as I enjoy the middle management dino, I gotta say my favorite Alliance logo as far as caricatures are concerned has to be the Fouetted chicken. So we got Exxon Fang repping those dudes. How's it going, Exxon?
Hey guys, yeah, like you said, I am part of Fouetted. I'm a director there, and I also am the head diplomat and kind of the face of the alliance for our alliance free-range chickens. You might have heard of us as I Whip Our Slaves Back and Forth, or the J4LP alliance back in.
I must say, for as good as your logo is, you guys really do suck at branding. It's really hard to keep track of who you are. In any case, let's jump right into it. So we've got, let me try and get this straight. We've got Modded and Sumera and Marshy from Spectre Fleet, and then we've got Marathia from Bombers Bar.
Marshy's Bombers Bar. I'm Spectre Fleet. Close enough.
Too many M names, darn. Okay, well let's get started with Bombers Bar then. So Marshy, walk us through Bombers Bar. Who are you? Like, what do you do? How do people get involved? Talk to.
Sure, yeah. We're an NPSI group, as I said earlier, so not purple shoot it. It means we get pilots from everywhere. They can come from tests, from goons, from anyone can come. When we're in fleet together, we won't shoot each other. We run covert ops ships. Bombers Bar is in the name. We run bombers, and we just send hunters out on Black Ops Bridge onto whoever's unlucky enough to be next to the covert sino.
So how long have you guys been an organization? It's been a long time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've only been in Bombers Bar for 3 years myself, but I think it's been around since 2006, I think, from when Templeman started it. A good old time.
Yeah, so go ahead, Artemis.
I was going to say Templeman, that's a name people may recognize from the This Is Eve trailer, right? He's the voice of like Red Squad Go, Gold Squad Go, whatever, like super enthusiastic.
Charismatic, really good guy to have in fleet. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's sort of the direction I was going to go. You guys are sort of storied. Pretty much every new player that comes in the game hears of Bombers Bar at some point. And I think at the pre-show you were saying, or somebody was saying their first fleet was a Bombers Bar fleet, which I think holds true for a lot of new players, because what you do is so intriguing to a new player to fly a stealth bomber. For those who don't know, it's a frigate that cloaks, does a lot of damage, and so that kind of gameplay amps people up. It's a really good entry into PvP, I think.
Yeah. It's like it's not the first thing you'd do, Neve, but it's like something to get you dabbling into PvP. How to take a Black Ops bridge, like it's a step before a Titan bridge, for instance. Just we're chilled out. If we want to help people, get into. We go through wormholes. We teach them wormholes. You're learning on the fly, but we're pretty chilled out, and we teach people as they go along. And yeah, people really gain from it. Definitely, it's really good.
The thing that I like about Bomber's Bar and also Spectre Fleet is that it's the NPSI nature of it. When I started EVE, I was sternly independent. So apart from like the group of friends who I would fly with, I refused to sort of go join a big nullsec block or big lowsec group. I wanted to know what I could do as a solo player with maybe one or two alts. It's why I joined Wormholes. But the way that I sort of learned to PvP, learned to do the fleet thing is through fleets with Spectre Fleet, with Cruiser's Crew, and with Bomber's Bar. So I think for especially newer players who are new to the scene, maybe don't want to commit to a corporation or anything, it's a great opportunity to really experience combat in EVE at a high level.
Oh, that's just it. It doesn't require commitment, and anybody can join it at any time. And I think that nature that you don't have to place commitment down, that you can join it at any time at any skill level. I think that's really important to EVE as a game, not just as to the community.
Really quickly, Modded, can you give us an overview similar to what Marshy gave us for Bomber's Bar about Spectre Fleet? Who are you? What do you do? Maybe how long you've been running?
Well, I'm married. I'm one of the high command of Spectre Fleet. I run the show with Sam and Virion. We're an online gaming community that was founded back in 2013 that just started off as a small group of guys that essentially opened it up to the public. It got pushed on. We worked with RVB and a few others and made big events like Ganked. And as the times have gone on, we've attempted to build on that. And really the only things that we don't encroach on are actually covert ops. We fully respect Bomber's Bar. They're good at their job and good at what they do. So we basically cover the rest, and we have a fantastic team of FCs that come from everywhere that you could imagine, from goons, snuffed to alliances that you may not have even heard of, and it's it's a place where a lot of FCs tend to start, I think. But yeah, generally speaking, we cover all the bases except for Black Ops.
Expanding on that history a little, actually, Spectre Fleet began as an offshoot of Bomber's Bar. Jane Fillion formed it back, forever ago with Honorable Third Party.
Yeah, I mean, the history of NPSI is all interconnected. So it's a shame that we don't have RVB here because they're a good representative of our early history. But we're all closely linked. Over time. Miscommunications have happened, but really at its core, I think we work very well together, and we have our own niches. And we've got a very, very long history in EVE, working together.
Yep.
Yeah, more importantly, how to join would be to check our in-game channel, SF Spectre. You can find all our fleet listings there, as well as our Discord and TeamSpeak.
Yeah, that was my next question. How do I get in on one of your fleets?
You just show up, good friend. So there's literally just the one in-game channel, SF Spectre Fleet. Our website is currently under construction, so that information might not always be up to date. But you literally just pop into our public channel, check out one of the fleets, and it'll belong to a corresponding X up channel. So join that channel, drop an X, and make some friends.
It's also
we're
worth noting.
reforming the. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, it's worth noting that we're big fans of Spectre Fleet, Bomber's Bar, NPSI, and generally any sort of public fleet that gets viewers involved with playing EVE Online. So on the TIS Discord, we've added a new channel. It's called #Fleets. We're going to be working with people to sort of, whenever there's one of these NPSI fleets going on, if somebody's running a public fleet they just want some bros to fly with, we're looking to get sort of posts in that channel so you guys know if there's a fleet going on in Eve and you're interested in joining, that's where you can look for it. But anyway, let's get back to you guys.
Very interesting that you should say that. The back end work and the new website and things that Spectre Fleet is working on, we're looking to work closely with Bombers Bar and other NPSI communities, people who you may not have heard of, and we will be linking all NPSI fleets through the new Spectre Fleet community Discord. That's including Bombers Bar, Fun Inc., you name it, it's all through there. So if you need a place to find all the public content in Eve, that's definitely the place to be.
So let's talk a bit about this content in particular. Bombers Bar does a lot of stuff with ganking Rorquals I've seen in the past. Historically, you've just done general Black Ops stuff. You gank supers, you do all that sort of stuff. And an interesting thing to me is that you guys have a tendency to stage out of a wormhole with a nullsec static. Can you talk to me about sort of why that decision was made?
Yeah. When was the decision made? Probably a year and a half ago, I'd say. We used to run whaling fleets, which we would use to block. We would pick a region to go to. Say, Providence was really good back in the day for Bombers Bar, right? Because it's easy to hunt, noob friendly, and people didn't really hunt us down too much. We had 20 guys, maybe 30 guys, and we used to blops around Providence and just blops into the system, then kill the target, bring the blops in, stage again, blops onto another target, and so on, and go around the region. But we found out the intel kind of got better. I don't know why. Maybe third-party programs like N2, Near2, stuff like that. We just found that we couldn't find many targets anymore. So, yeah, one of the FCs back at that time, it was a Mika, and we decided let's jump into a wormhole and with a nullsec static and roll it. Right, that's how we get around. We can get around the intel. It's going to spawn somewhere random in space. Intel isn't gonna know we're there until we're on the target. So it was to get fresh targets, fresh hunting grounds, and avoid intel, which was the main thing that stopped us getting kills.
Now, Spectre Fleet, you guys have previously been known for your camps in and around Providence, also sort of like your low-sec cruiser, sometimes even battleship roams, especially with ganked. What are you guys doing now? What's changed? What's stayed the same?
I'll start off with that guy. So more or less what's changed, obviously with the landscape of Eve, is assault frigates is now more or less the go-to hunting meta that we've been using. Similar to what Init is doing with Snatch or any of their smaller doctrines. More or less just get as many guys into assault frigates and deacons and point them out at targeting.
So do you guys stage in Jita most of the time? Do you sort of move around your staging depending on where you're going? Where do people want to have ships ready to go?
Well, it's kind of open to the FCs. If the FC has a particular set of targets in mind, or they've been particularly lucky for a few weeks, they will go and do that. I think we've got 3 different varieties of hunting fleets, and we've got the Scepters, like the assault frigates, like Sam said, and a mixture of T3 destroyers that go out and hunt these targets. It's certainly changed.
Is it always the same sort of fleet comp, or do you have multiple ones? Do you have like different levels for SP players, or is everybody always welcome to fleet?
Well, everybody's always welcome to fleet. There's always some position that you're willing to take, but the sheer variety that Spectre Fleet offers, there's definitely going to be a fleet up that you can be involved in. Whether it's a whaling fleet, a roaming fleet, or an arranged fight, or a big event that we create. So,
how often do you guys roll out in a day?
Every day, sometimes twice a day. Prime time, Fridays and Saturdays, we usually roll out at about 1900 hours, and there's only usually one major fleet. But it's daily content. We are looking for more US time zone FCs, by the way. Just throw that out there.
Everybody is, I think.
Yeah, we struggle with that. Yeah.
definitely one of the bigger things that's changed, and what has kind of pushed us away from, being that KBP7 Pravi gate camp. A lack of not necessarily U.S. time zone FCs, but just general content as well.
With the consolidation that a lot of nullsec entities have gone through in the last 2-3 years or so, it's become a lot more difficult for these small 10, 15-man T1 cruiser gangs to get much of anything. LowSec is dead, TM, and with groups going in and punching out local groups, like for instance Black Rise and Black Rise Matters and the Keepstars that were up there getting destroyed, it's kind of forcing the NPSI communities to expand a little bit and find more faster, quicker meta ships to hunt with.
We've certainly had to evolve over the time, and I'll be honest, we were a bit slow 12 months ago. We've had to do a lot of catch up over this last 12 months to actually get us into 2019 and how these nullsec blocks are actually rearranging themselves, and they are getting more centralized and bigger. So we're finding that we're too big for the smaller guys and too small for the bigger guys at the moment. That's a prevalent problem.
We're
so
the middle class of Eve.
Yeah, ganking seems to be the go-to 100% guaranteed content,
Now, when you say
I
ganking,
could totally
you're referring
relate.
to Rorquals and Supers, yeah?
Rorquals, supers, carriers, ratters, even just T2 miners, it's that whole fishing season, if you will.
So some recent changes just came through, sorry, Silver, that changed the way that Rorqual ganks certainly, and even some carrier and super ganks happened. That was Capital Insular Shield boosters are limited to 1 per ship, so the triple CASB, Rorqual fit, or even some Phoenix fits, some Haw Phoenix fits, can no longer work. And then also, mobile Sino and Hibs had their anchor time halved from 2 minutes down to 1 minute, if I recall correctly. So, what's the deal here? Is this affecting your guys' gameplay at all?
I don't think it's been, like, from personal opinion on my fleet, it's not been here long enough for us to be able to really ascertain the changes, because when we're out hunting, and I can't speak for Bombers Bar, but certainly, within the first sort of 2.5 minutes whether it's a viable kill, or if something's going to go drastically wrong and you have to get out, or if backup's going to come in. It's a get out philosophy, and if it escalates, a clear clarification on whether we can take that escalation. If we can, we'll stay on grid. But usually, if there's an initial escalation, there's going to be more.
Yeah, well, speaking from a group that feels the pain of being too big for the smaller guys and too small for the bigger guys, sometimes at gank, the initial response fleet, if it's a medium-sized group, maybe something that you can handle. Is that something that you look for? Like the first 10 guys that pour out in the rando ships, that's the ones you want to fight, right?
Yeah, certainly. And again, I can't say for stealth bombers because that's a very different tactic. We will hold grid, even if we can take down the target, just to see if we can create that extra bit of content. Again, I'll go back to the whole centralized thing. It's in the same places, in the same regions, regardless to when people move. It's the same places, the same regions. So you kind of know what to expect. The new changes, I must admit, will probably make things a little bit easier. But I've yet to see that, just simply because there's only 2 power blocks, PAM-FAM and Imperium, who can just drop on anything. The rest is kind of a, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? No. Oh, we killed it. Nice one. Move on.
That's unfortunately the thing with Sino and Hibs as well, with the fights that we're going for, or that we're trying to escalate with these other groups. Sinos happen in a matter of seconds. So for something to take a full minute to deploy leaves the small skirmish gangs that we generally run, they're, I don't want to call them useless, but we don't carry them with us. Especially when, if you are trying to bait that initial drop, it just doesn't seem like something you'd want to use. And unfortunately, rolling back around again to that nullsec consolidation, when we do go looking for these targets, 9 out of 10 times you're like, we know the escalation is going to be an unbeatable hammer. We'll stick around to watch it drop, but 9 out of 10 times what does come to save what we've got tackled, again, we can't really take it on because we're just not quite at that coalition level size fleets yet. So.
Yeah, within the first sort of 2.5 minutes especially on a rock world, that it's GTFO time. Like with bombers, it's so proficient. You get in, you fuck things up so quickly.
Marath?
Well, on both sides of that, from both being attacked and doing the attacking, I can say the change to the ASB doesn't actually make much of a difference. The old triple ASB fit was touted for months as the best, blah, 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 but it really wasn't. It was just overhyped and also expensive, and people equate expensive with better. I can say that when attacking works, like I haven't done too many recently, but on the 2 or 3 that we've killed post change, they're just as hard without ASBs as they are with, because capital ASBs are actually weaker than other capital rep mods comparatively. Like XL ASBs and all that, they're the same as dead space mods, but capital are actually weaker. They're the same almost as, well, not even the same as meta. Meta are still stronger. As for defending, ASBs had one great advantage. That was you were immune to newts, but newts generally were only a threat from wormhores. Groups like Spectre Fleet, they don't use newt comps very often. One of our favorite whaling fleets is an assault frigate fleet. There are almost no newts on that. It doesn't need them. Bombers Bar, they do, focus void bombs, stuff like that. So that can be quite handy for dealing with them. But even then, there's a new fit for Rorks that's kind of slowly surfacing that does the same thing, immune to newts.
Now, Marcia, you and I have had a discussion about this whole, being newt invulnerable with a particularly interesting trick. You want to tell us about that?
Newt invulnerable? What conversation is this?
With the capital...
Me,
or is it
Artimus.
it was Marathia. Gosh, M names. I'm going to do it all.
I'm so confused.
So what you're referring to is a double capital shield booster fit. A fun fact about the enduring capital shield booster is by itself and with just a single T1 shield cap cost rig, you can run 2 capital shield boosters on one Navy 3200 charge. So using the same 4 mid slots that you would run with an ASB fit, 3 ASBs and a shield boost amp, you can now go 2 boosters and 2 cap boosters and still have that newt proof tank that is the same, if not better, than an ASB. It's better, of course, if you have no newts on you, and it's just slightly better if you're completely newted out. And like I said, completely immune to newts.
Cap newts will wreck
do
you
nothing.
pretty quick.
No, so the capital enduring has less than 1,600 gigajoules per use. 3,200, of course, is double that. You cycle a 3,200 from a capital cap booster, and you cycle both of your reps. You use up all of your own cap and project, 20-something% of your max shields back to your ship.
All right, Marcy, what?
Yeah, Bombers Bar, when we hunt rocks, we haven't really seen... We killed them before easily enough because of our overwhelming DPS, right, and just sheer numbers. But now they're easier to put into panic, right? And the quicker you put them into panic, the less time he's got to form up his mates to come and save him, right? So when we drop on 10 rockers in a mining set together, we find that we can now put them all into panic really quickly, cloak up and wait to see what comes through the signer, right? So it's a good change, but I still feel for the smaller groups, like the groups in Dronelands that don't have that big guys to save them. They haven't got, like I don't know if the change is good for smaller groups, like hunting in space to get the rockers into panic, but it still affects the miners that are in smaller coalitions, smaller groups. They're still dying. They're just dead. No one comes to save them, and I think something needs to be done about that.
Well,
Does
Ron, you're from...
Does it though, or is it just prolong the doom? Like for my group, the Oracle heavy tank was nice, but if no one's going to save me from snuff dreads, then I'm just wasting time, though, not right?
Yeah, that's a point. Yeah,
I mean, it means no difference to me. The tank is nice. The fact that it's less strong now, I'm no less, no more vulnerable than I was before.
Yeah.
If I'm caught, I'm caught. I'm just going to die.
Yeah, it's a good change, but there's just too much of a spread between, say, test skins and a little small corp in Drainlands, like bad for this one.
Do you think it like CCP is going the wrong way about nerfing changes like with the raw call? The first few changes, they were good for the small guy when it was maximum how it was, and the Imperium and others took it to the absolute maximum, and then CCP nerfed it because of that maximum, and the minimum groups are actually suffering because of the bigger groups over excessivizing on these mechanics.
I don't know how you feel about that, Ron. How about your over excessivizing on Rourke while tanking there in test? What's your opinion?
I think the only thing that I can really, what we've been concentrating on is what the guys have already kind of talked about, which is response time. And we've sort of tried to mimic Theta Squad from the Goons. And when Bomber's Bar shows up and he has 100 bombers, I mean, that is a massive amount of DPS. It's all about how long does it take for us to drop? And when do they panic? And then when are we dropping? And when we drop, they leave. But, do they go to another system to try to make us drop again, to stack penalties? So really, our response is all about how long until we drop. And we just lost a super to Bomber's Bar a couple of days ago. And it's, that's one thing. I think we've made a lot of progress in the past 6 months, but, we're still working on it. And it's, a very interesting mechanic.
Would you reserve capitals? Just as a question, would you reserve capitals in the sense that, okay, we're going to just send a few through right now and make sure that everybody else's fatigue's okay, just in case they do stay in the region?
Yeah, that's a great question. One of the things that we've been doing is we have so many that we try to just put enough in to save the Rourke so we can keep them on grid so we can kill them more. But generally, as soon as, a couple of supers show up, they leave. So if we drop a couple of supers, they leave, and then the rest, the other 20, 30 people are, holding on the jump and waiting for the next system or whatever to pop.
I've noticed that a few times. We was on a big game hunt and the guys, quite literally, we tackled something in every consecutive system that we went to, and we're talking carrier like Rattlesnake, Ishtar, and then another carrier, and they dropped on every single one, dropping maybe about 2, 3 each time. It was enough to force us off, but not enough to sort of, I don't know, waste fatigue, I guess.
Yeah, so it's an effective way. Yeah, like splitting like these big like test games. So you send your hunters out, spread the sabers around, jump on the first target, and this is where Black Ops comes into play. Like the 8 light year range, right, and low timers, like low recalibration, right. So we'll jump into the first system, put the Rookers into panic. Do they come through? They normally jump through a lot of stuff, and we try and bait more. We'll cloak up. We'll shoot the faxes. We'll try and get more and more and more in. Well, our 4 hunters have got stuff tackled in system over here, like within the 8 light years, So the Blops is already staged, he's already clicked up. We will all up to the Blops, we'll drop on the second target, the third target, the fourth target, and normally by the fourth target, you get a Rourke or 2, by the end of it.
Circling back a bit to the middle class of Eve that seems to be getting shafted by all the CCP changes, we've got Exxon Feng from Fwedet, who has recently been in the process of unconsolidating from a nullsec power block and going independent. So Exxon, can you give us a bit of history about your very, very storied group and then walk us through up to today?
Yeah. So, as a lot of people might know, we started out, we splintered from Dreadit and Test back when that was still a Goon experiment, and under the super creative name Fwet. When Test peeled off from Goons in the Founded War, we sided with Goons to keep ourselves kind of separate from Dreadit. Eventually, we got Sov and Delve and ended up becoming a full CFC member back when they were known by that. Nowadays, they're known as the Imperium. But when Phobie Sov hit, we moved into Vale and dropped Faction Warfare because everyone was consolidating Sov and Faction Warfare kind of started to suck then. We ended up consolidating into Cloud Ring, and then when Goons decided they wanted to do renting and extortion, we ended up leaving Cloud Ring because we didn't want to get extorted. We went back to Faction Warfare for a bit. That sucked still. So we had a friend, Susan Delgado, who was White Legion's Diplo, and so we joined up with them. Unfortunately, when Elo went away and Susan went on a business trip, White Legion quickly faded away. So then we moved into Init, where we stayed for a couple of years. And then about a little over 2 months ago, we left Init to go and kind of do our own thing again and kind of start building up the Fwedit name again.
Gotcha. So what have you been focusing on now? Are you like back in Faction Warfare as sort of pirates? Are you interested in the nullsec thing? What are you looking to do in Eve as a...
So a little bit of both. We as Fwedit and Free Range Chickens, we like to have a good mix of low sec and null sec content. So a lot of our dudes like small gang stuff and roams and gate camps and that kind of stuff, which is great for low sec. Even, a lot of people say it's dead or whatever now, but we haven't really noticed that too much. We're still very much enjoying it. But we also have a lot of dudes, since we spent so much time in null blocks, that really like those bigger coalition level 150 man plus nullsec fleets. So we try to do stuff that lets us get the best of both worlds. So right now we are staged in low sec, but we have a coalition with Iron Armada and Federation Uprising to kind of give us that nullsec, our nullsec fill, while all of our kind of spare time is spent roaming in Blackrise and the areas around there, just trying to create fun where we can.
So, Silver, you have been flying with Fwedit guys a lot. What's it like? How's the interaction there?
The Fwedit match is pretty good. We're culturally very similar, similar backgrounds, similar goals. In fact, we started flying with Fwedit at the beginning of the last Northern War because their proximity to us and their U.S. time zone based mostly, and the fact that they like to do small gang, low sec stuff. We're Fed Up strives for the similar types of things. We want to leave all doors open to all content, which is why we're positioned where we are, one jump from low sec. So it's been great. I think the synergies have been awesome. They have good FCs. It's been really fun flying with them.
Yeah, and that relationship, like Silver said, really did spring out of that northern conflict. Fwedit, while we were in it, really headed up a lot of their U.S. time zone fleets. Our corp even deployed out north like a full month, a little bit more than a month before the rest of Init, when the northern theater really started to heat up. Since we're U.S. time zone, and since I was Init's head Diplo, I ended up doing a ton of coordination with Silver and Contra and the rest of the Fed Up bros. And basically, we've just been flying together ever since. Right after we left Init, we spent about a month in Devoid and Derelict to join Wrecking Crew, but we still maintained friendly relations with Fed Up. Realized Wrecking Crew wasn't really a great fit for us. They didn't really have their stuff together. So when Eve Vegas came around and our CEO, Nivlak Hida, met up with Tridget and Fed Up and got to talking, it was just kind of a no-brainer to come back into the area and kind of start doing stuff with them again.
Yeah, in fact, we were planning to fly together during the Northern War before Goons dropped the Keepstar and 6RC, which sort of advanced our plans quite a bit.
Yeah, when Keepstar gets dropped in your Sov, it kind of does that.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about the recent fights that you guys have been getting into together, or even like what you two have been doing individually. So we had the fight in Barliget, which we talked about last episode. And I understand that we got a few of our details wrong. Is there anything like really big you want to correct from last show?
Yeah, so love McLeod, but he definitely got our reasons for why we left in it kind of wrong. So I just want to cover that a little bit. So Foot-It and Init weren't really a great cultural fit for us. The content was nice, and being able to kind of head up US time zone was great, but we didn't really get the autonomy we really wanted there. And we had been planning on leaving for quite a while, to be honest with you. But when the northern conflict started really heating up, we decided, hey, this is great content. Let's stick it out for a little bit longer, see if things improve. Unfortunately, they didn't. So basically, when that Goon deal got signed, drying up all the content in that area, it couldn't have been a better time to leave. There was a little bit of drama near the end as some of the higher up dudes in Init kind of started generating an anti-Foot-It culture in Init, which wasn't great. But we did leave on good terms. Unfortunately, a couple days after we left on good terms, one of our ex-members had done something in Init, which prompted Init to reset our standings and docking access a little bit early. When you leave a big nullsec block, they generally give you a couple of weeks of blue and ACL, so you can kind of evac all your stuff. And unfortunately, we didn't get that, so it kind of soured the water a little bit with that, which kind of brings us to last Sunday with the Fed Up and Snuffed Out fight that happened, or actually a little bit before that when we were fighting them, and it basically showed up on grid, was blue to literally everyone except us, and shot us anchored or tethered on the Fortizar, and then moonwalked out of there.
Yeah, you're talking about the fight in Barliga in Losec.
Yeah.
That was an interesting mix of political mess, is what I'll describe that as. I think it confused all sides. And I'm not sure how Init even learned of the fight or what made them come over, but as far as I know, even Stuff was confused as to what their intentions were. Which
yeah, I remember
may not have... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I remember they jumped on grid. It took everyone by surprise. I think there was like 10 or 15 seconds where like, why isn't it here? What are they doing? And then essentially they called primaries on everything Foot-It, and all of the free range chicken guys on grid melted in a matter of seconds just because no one was prepared for that.
Yeah, which really hurt the overall fight because the sides set up. It was Iron Armada, Fed Up, and free range chickens defending an Armada fort. Right, so the three of us are fighting Snuff, who we know has a heavy super escalation, and they had held off with their super escalation, which I had appreciated, and we were in the middle of a really nice dread brawl, like one that I've not been in a while, and then my whole screen fills up with blue ships, and I'm like, who's this? It's Init, and then suddenly 30% of my fleet's gone, and I can't win the brawl anymore. To boot, Snuff sort of panicked a little bit. At least that's what they told me, not knowing what their intentions were, and then drop their supers, fight over. So,
well, on the bright side, Silver, you seem to have gotten your revenge at least against Snuffed Out with a more recent fight. Tell us about that.
Yeah, for the time being, they're quite mad. The pre-show is saying that there were Titans on my fort in Losec. I'm not sure what happened with that. I'm sure it's RF'd, but this beef with Snuff started with the end of at least of the Pureblind phase of the Northern War. We were blue with the Initiative and the Imperium because of the 6RC Keepstar, right? We wanted to participate in the war, and the way that we could do that is be blue with Imperium without being shot by everyone, right? Near the end of that whole conflict, we started getting messages from Snuff leadership that the blue with Imperium was just a stay of execution, and that they were going to come for us at some point. Snuff talks a lot like that, so we didn't take it very seriously at first. But then they started this Losec campaign where they basically shot everyone's moons. And anybody that had a moon in Losec had it taken from them, and they killed our Asbel, which, on a side note, is quite funny because if you shoot a faction warfare group's Asbel, guess what pours out of it? Not capital ships, but hundreds of frigates. It was awesome watching on grid. The thing popped and frigates poured out of it. It was hysterical. So we evac Losec. You know, we can't fight Snuff. You know, they alarm clocked for the one moon. Even their U.S. time zone was a bit rough for just Fed Up to handle. So we evac low sec and went to pure blind thinking that's what they wanted. And a few weeks went by and things were cool with IO and things. But then suddenly they anchored 3 Astra houses in our nullsec right off of our staging Fortizars. And I'm like, well, I guess they're really not done.
Yeah,
and again,
important note, they anchored them on Thanksgiving weekend for the U.S., which was, while we totally understand it, strategically was a great decision, felt like kind of a low blow.
Yeah, considering that Fed Up is strongest in the U.S. time zone. We have a very good, competent EU time zone, but our strength really is in U.S. time zone. So it was tough to get people together. But since Calente militia kind of fell apart also near the end of the war also, Penn is out, left on the Calente militia and sort of reset everyone and has been flying a lot with Snuff. That where, Penn is out was our closest allies. We flew with them for years without that support anymore. So this new coalition with Iron Armada and Fuedet was just very timely. We needed new people to fly with. We needed new allies. So together, though, because it was a Saturday afternoon U.S. time zone, we would have to deal with the brunt of Snuff, and that's not something that we can fight straight up. I know Snuff probably wanted us to get into our Macarials and brawl it out like we had been doing in Barliget. But on a weekend, that just wouldn't have panned out well for us, I don't think. So we decided that we were going to fight like true militia, sino-jam everything, and waterboard them as much as we could to try and take down the Astras while they were snared up. And you know what? It worked brilliantly. It took them over an hour to go 2 jumps to breach our staging. It really was very frustrating on their part, probably, but we had them snared up so bad that we were able to take down all 3 of the offensive Astra houses, a couple of them by a few seconds. So the one in our main staging had 17 seconds left before we were able to take it down. In fact, we snared them up so long that it kind of got the eye of other groups. Black Legion and Pandemic Legion, 2 of them, wound up showing up. None of us called them. I don't know how they found out about the fight. But they showed up and started shooting stuff, and they wound up losing their entire Rattlesnake fleet after the fact. So it was quite the operation for us, and felt pretty good. I just don't think Stuff's very happy about it.
Yeah, and they've been reffing a bunch of stuff in the area. They dropped 3 more Citadels in our staging, so they're definitely reacting to it. With as powerful and as oppressive as Snuff is, it kind of sucks to fight them, but at the same time, they make a lot of enemies, and those enemies are pretty eager to fight back. So that's working in our favor.
A recent one, if I may add, is certainly Spectre Fleet. We had Citadels and Pauses. I don't know if you've been keeping up with Reddit, but yeah, NPSI equals Snuff bait. We've been playing around with them and arranging good fights, and we've had arrangements with them for a long time. But exactly what you've just been discussing has made us look elsewhere for content, because at the moment Black Rise is very dominated by these individuals. So it's making it harder for content.
They're being pretty oppressive. I will say, though, I can appreciate them being so aggressive. I can appreciate also that at least in the Barliget fight, and partly because of the Sino-Jammers on Saturday, they've been reserving their super fleets for the most part. They really haven't dropped the hammer hard, but they're still, the fact that they can makes us not be able to fight them straight up.
All the way up until the point that they can no longer give the fight. And I've got a lot of respect for Snuff leadership, and I've worked with them since Snuff creation. And then their new change, not to turn it into a rhetoric like hate Snuff talking in stations, but I've had a good relationship with Snuff for a very long time, and it's unfortunate that they've gone down this way. But
you're ruining my narrative. Eve needs the bad guy. Let Snuff be the bad guy.
Well, no, they've been very good for a long time, and if you want them to be the bad guys, and we can have fun with them in that regards, the overall oppressors, then fine. Eve does need a bad guy, but ultimately, I think Snuff's morality or moral compass has shifted somewhat.
Yeah, I will,
Slightly. I think Tao's, still over here. He wants to kick us in so bad, and as much as I want to be a good adversary for stuff, it's been tough for us. Those weekend timers, we just can't compete.
They're good. They're really, really good people, and they're really good pilots.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I definitely want to echo what you're saying, Matt. They definitely do give good fights, but they're definitely also not afraid to drop that hammer. But we do definitely, I respect them a lot for actually trying to give the good fights when they're there to give.
Well, they're not afraid to admit defeat, as jesty as the retreat from Pandemic Horde space was. They meant what they said. Good fights, PH. You are over escalating us now. There's no point in continuing this endeavor. So they're at the pinnacle of their game, and they do not want to subside for anyone. Good fights or morals, nothing. And fair play to them.
It's interesting that you bring up Pandemic Horde, because even though sort of Snuff has begun to leave them alone, other groups are beginning to pile on. And in fact, Test Alliance, Please Ignore, and Legacy Coalition in general, I think, have been the latest addition to the Dogpile and Geminate. And Ron, can you tell us a bit about that?
Get that.
I think we've been the recipient of the Dogpile several times, so we might have a little bit of experience in it. But yeah, we've put a northern, I like to think of it like a hunting camp, and we've been staged out of there, bashing structures and just making life very difficult for them. We had a big fight the other night. We killed 2 structures this morning. I don't think they were Pandemic Horde, but we killed 2 structures this morning, and we're just destroying everything to secure the Tranquility Trading Towers up there.
I was going to ask what the motivation was.
Yeah, it's very, very simple. And, not to give the no spin zone. Basically, when we were down in Catch, the, Pandemic Legion and these other people put, they forward staged right on the edge of our territory, and they just farmed us and they beat us down. And, and whenever you'd ask them, why are you here? And they would always reply, good fights. We're here for good fights. Like, okay, fair enough. Well, now that the chickens have come home to roost, no offense to chickens, but, now that we're all big and strong, we want to pay them back for all of that. And, there's no, animosity. It's as much just, a reason to punish them. Yeah. So we have our northern staging, and we're demolishing everything that we see up there.
Are you working on your own, or are you working with the rest of the dog piles at all? Because there's several groups up there.
It's getting that way, I would say. The more and more people that Snuff annoy, the more and more people are banding together.
Yeah, with us, it's just us. And we fight lots of different groups, but I will say that the goons have showed up a couple of times on some really big timers, and we temp blew them. And we didn't even change the standings. It was just shoot what the FC says kind of thing.
For FC purposes, yeah. Interesting.
So you mentioned
what Artimus was saying was the big fight the other night, and I have to tell you, I know we have a couple of recordings of it, but we kind of baited them out a little bit. ProGod was the FC, and we were bashing. Our fort was reffed, and they didn't contest, but they were a lot there. And so we went and started reffing one of their structures. We saw them starting to leave, so we jumped through to BWF, and waited on the other side. And I have to tell you, and this is what I posted. It was, it was pretty nerve-wracking because there was, I don't know how many fighters on that gate just waiting for us. And then, Pandemic Legion came through, Pandemic Horde came through, and everyone was coming through. And then it was just a massive brawl right on the gate at 0. It was an insane fight.
That's awesome.
You mentioned temporarily, or momentarily rather, the Tranquility Trading Corporation, if I'm getting that right. It's too much alliteration for my taste, but it's Test's high-sec setup when they went and kicked Horde out of the JITA offshore trade market. And recently there was an incident where you lost a T2 rigged Tatara, which is very expensive and not exactly something you want to be losing on the regular, not just because of the expense, but also because it doesn't quite give a good look to your new business model. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so basically that was a very simple error, and ProGod's spoken about this, but someone who will remain nameless, it might rhyme with Mogod Legend, but
give us the dirt.
Someone logged in the wrong alt and then war decked some people. So what happened is that war decked entity was able to invite people right before the war deck was over, and then was able to take care of it. But I will say that this person that did this on a complete accident, little misclick, will be doing the Hot Wing Challenge, I think, on Sunday to pay for that.
I have to ask, are there going to be hot questions along with that?
I have to ask, what's the Hot Wing Challenge?
Yeah, so the Hot Wing Challenge it's kind of a joke, and I think most alliances have it, but when someone messes up and they do something wrong, we give them, some sort of kind of, not really humiliating, but sort of humiliating task, or, hey, the trial by fire, we call it. And one of them is, if you mess up really bad, do something, well, you have to do X. And in this particular case, it's eat, these super, super hot wings, and you have to do it on camera, and everyone can laugh and have a good joke about it.
I'm game for that.
You sure he doesn't have to Oracle mine back all the minerals to build a new one?
Well, I think what he's I think he's spinning it, and I think he's gonna do it on his stream or something. I'm not sure, but it's gonna be fun.
All right, well, I guess it's time to give some shout-outs. So does anybody have any quick shout-outs they want to give to anybody? I guess we'll go down the list and start out with you, Mod.
I've got a quick shout out here to Malbako, who is a Spectre FC, but he's also a Snuff FC, and he's offered to pay me $1 billion to give him a shout out. So what a better reason! But on the top of that, a big shout out to the Spectre fleet staff and the NPSI communities that have been working really closely with us to integrate and come up with new ideas for 2019. So be there.
So to that snuffed out dude, I'll take $2 billion to not cut that shout out during the editing process. All right, Samara, what's
Realistically, just want to touch on the command team. Everyone that we've got that's helped us get from pre-Jane fill-in Spectre. So if you're on the Spectre FC command team, or if you're one of our staff members, and even the Twitch streamers that are in our Discord, thanks very much, and definitely look forward to 2019 with you guys.
Exxon?
Yeah, just a shout out to my Fwedet bros and to our coalition Iron Federation. The past couple of months have been a lot of fun, and everyone's been putting in a lot of work as we transition from leaving a big nullsec block to kind of doing our own thing. And I couldn't be more proud of all the chickens in the coop. Bok bok.
All right, Ron.
I'll just give a shout out. Tess cares about your financial future. So, be smart and invest in Tranquility Trading Towers. It's almost difficult to even get it out.
I love it.
Silver, how about you?
I want to give a shout out to my logistics bros for building 250 plus battle cruisers in 19 hours to waterboard the shit out of Snuff. Should you get a bird icon?
All right, well, unfortunately, Marathia and Marshy both had to go. It is very late for them. They're in the EUTZ as well as some other of our guests. I appreciate them sticking it out. I'm assuming that they would shout out their respective groups of Bombers Bar and Spectre Fleet, as well as whoever they fly with on an individual basis. I'd personally like to give a shout out to my corporation, Capitalist Army. We recently formed a new alliance called The Network, and we are actively and vigorously recruiting. So check it out if that interests you. But anyway, that's it. That's what's been going on at EVE. We had some fantastic guests. Thanks again to everybody for showing up, sticking with us. And we'll see you guys on Sunday with the regular show, and then again next week for the next midweek update. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Artimus. Cheers, buddy. Bye.
Good night, everybody.